Well, welcome back to another edition of Conservatives from McLendon-Chisholm. I'm Robert Steinhagen, and welcome to a Saturday edition. We're taking it kind of easy today as we look at some of the things that are going on in our city. And I just want to say thank you to those of you who have responded to me, who have sent in emails. I appreciate it. I got the message. Couple of things. Last program, we had some problems with the feed, and so we had some segments that were just left out. And so I'm going to be going back through there and finding out exactly what it was that I was trying to say and try to follow up with that. The other thing is I got your message, and I agree with you. I have a tendency to say a lot, and that is something I'm going to work on starting on this show. So you can count how many uhs I say, because I am going to be really conscientious about trying to keep that out of my presentation. I grew up with a stutter, so it's something that I think I've used as a crutch, and this is a great process for me to wean myself from it. So thank you for the comments on that. I also appreciate the comments about some of the questions that you had, and was able to answer just a couple of them. I hope that you're able to see on the last show that I added a myriad of links. A myriad of links that go to different sites, including the documents that I was talking about, the Citizens for Representative Government website that I had created a few years ago for the tax rollback fight, which was a website that I converted into my personal mayor's site. Then when I left office, converted it back to Citizens for Representative Government. Today, I want to talk and I want to deal with one of the lies, one of the outright misinformation sent out by the Donegan, Kipphut, Moody PAC that we talked about in the knife-wielding man video. And I really want to highlight that for you. I'm going to start with this piece right here, which is, I just did it, sorry, which is what they wrote about the runaway spending. It reads, "City legal bills funded by taxpayers continue to skyrocket. We need leaders who will stop out-of-control spending and be more accountable with your tax dollars." Then we saw this mail piece. This is the most egregious one of all of them. It says, "The appointed mayor and council," let me make that larger for you, to say no to more debt and runaway spending. "The appointed mayor and city council have racked up nearly $500,000 in legal fees and legal and professional fees paid by the taxpayers, yet fail to fund emergency services." We didn't come anywhere close to $500,000 in legal fees. And I realize they're trying to lump in professional fees so that they can create the misimpression, because again, they go back to another piece, a mail piece, that looks like this. And this one is, did you know, city legal fees paid by taxpayers continue to skyrocket. They look at and compare fiscal years 2013 and 14 and 2014-15 at $25,000, then jumped up to, in 2015-16, $68,000, and then in 2016 and 17, $124,032. So what happened there, and why is it that the legal fees increased? Well, it's important for you to understand how we got to the place that we were in, and I'm going to really focus on the towers that were built in McLendon-Chisholm during my tenure in office. There are two of them. There's an emergency services tower, and then there's a telecom tower. The first tower was basically presented to the city council when Gary Moody, Steve Hatfield, and Jack Pullen were on the city council. The county commissioners asked the city council if they could place the emergency services tower, which is a new system for our emergency services, if they could place that tower on the city hall property. And the City Council said no. They didn't want it on City Hall property. The reason why is because 3 people came out to speak against it. And I'll put these minutes on the site so that you can see it for yourself. 3 people came out to speak about the tower company. The 2 owners of the Triple Creek Ranch and Mark Kipphut, none of them were in support of, none of them spoke in favor of the tower being at City Hall. They all raised concerns. Obviously, the Triple Creek folks, their concern is that they're trying to sell a development. They want to be able to put housing there, and a tower would inhibit their ability to sell to a developer the development plan so that they can put 1,876 homes on the 409 buildable acres that's basically behind the City Hall. So they didn't want the radio tower there. And of course, Mark Kipphut, he was concerned about the height, and because he lives in Chisholm Crossing, I believe it is, that he did not want to see, and I'm sorry, I did it again. I'm catching myself every time I say he didn't want to see it there either. Now, later in the campaign, he tried to backtrack and say, well, I never said I was opposed to it, but read the minutes for yourself. You be the judge. You decide whether or not Mr. Kipphut was in favor of that. So when we got elected, Wayne Orchard, one of the first things, Wayne called me after the election and before we were sworn in and said, I have one agenda item that I want to put on first thing. I said, what is that? He said, that emergency services tower that Moody and Hatfield and Pullen had opposed, which basically meant that the county would have to go and find property somewhere else, and taxpayers would have to foot the bill for the property and where they're going to place that. And Wayne said, I want to bring that back up before the city council. And so we did. And we said, yeah, let's invite the county commissioners to come back because they hadn't built the tower. And so we did. We brought County Commissioner Dennis Bailey back to meet with the city council. Mr. Bailey said, in no uncertain terms, the deal has already been done. We have worked so hard on this. It's a long process because you have engineering that has to take place that would have to, all of the money that we've already invested in the property, which is the Lindop property, we would have to basically throw that money away. We've already got the agreement. It's already done. There's a done deal. So there's no point in you even moving forward with this. So the council, based upon the emphatic points, based upon the emphatic points that were made by the county commissioner, we said, okay. Just a few weeks later, we received word that the deal had fallen through with the county and the Lindops, and that the tower was now going to be placed on another property. The county commissioner, Dennis Bailey, asked Mayor Nathan Hodges not to inform the city council, which he didn't. He wanted to be able to present the news to the neighbors and to the community himself. So what actually happened there was the landowner, the property that that the emergency services tower is on currently, you drive by it off 205, that property was owned by someone who just happened to be a friend of Dennis Bailey, which he came back when we brought him before us to explain. He said, oh, I didn't realize that was who owned it. Now you can dry that out and fertilize the lawn, because we paid you and me, the taxpayers of Rockwall County, paid $300,000 for 3 acres of land, where they really just needed 1 acre of land, if that, to put the emergency services tower, where they could have saved all that money by putting it on the City Hall property, because we had me, Wayne Orchard, and Jerry Klutz all ready to vote in favor of putting the radio tower on City Hall property. Think about what that would have saved for taxpayers. Think about also if other needs came up, when telecom companies needed to add antennas to that tower, we could have worked with the county and in cooperatively benefited from that. But the county commissioners did not want to do that. Interestingly, Commissioner Bailey told us at the meeting that the county commissioners did not have to go before the city, that because of the nature of an emergency services tower and federal law, maybe it's state law, it's either federal or state law, but the law allows an emergency services tower, the county, to put an emergency services tower wherever it wants without asking for permission, that they can do it, that the reason he came before the city council was more as a courtesy. What I later found out, and Wayne Orchard and I both later found out, is that when I confronted Commissioner Bailey at the Emergency Services Corporation board meeting, which I was a member of, about that issue, he articulated to the group that he had gone before the Board of Adjustment. And I said, no, you did not go before the Board of Adjustment. He said, I most certainly did. I had no idea about any of that. So I went back immediately to City Hall and asked if we could pull up the files on the Board of Adjustment files and the meeting minutes. And sure enough, County Commissioner had, in fact, after they had secured the property that the radio tower is on now, they did go before the Board of Adjustment and get permission to put that tower up. And the city council was not informed about that. At least I wasn't. I can speak for me and Wayne Orchard. Neither one of us were told about that. So we were surprised by that. Then later, we had another tower company that wanted to put a tower in our city. And rather than coming to city council, they just put their application in and asked for the Board of Adjustment to rule on this issue. And I said, well, you're going to have to go before planning and zoning. I contacted the city attorney to find out how they can do this. And that's when the city attorney enlightened me on the fact that our ordinances allow a tower company to put a tower anywhere in our city. And the only board they have to go before is the Board of Adjustment. They do not have to go through planning and zoning. They do not have to meet with the city council to get approval. So an appointed board has the opportunity to make a decision on whether or not a tower can violate. And the reason they wanted the reason they were going before the Board of Adjustment is because they wanted to violate our city's height standard. I think we had a height standard of 180 feet. I could be wrong. Again, I'm just spitballing here from my memory. But they wanted to exceed that by a significant margin. And I was not okay with that. Remember last time when I talked about, in the last show, I talked about when I went before the city council as a member of city council to try and eliminate the Planning and Zoning Commission and Board of Adjustment so that the city council could take on that role for a few months and then reappoint a new board on both of those boards to get the cronies out. Had we done that, it would have helped immensely, because our only option as a city, if the Board of Adjustment had approved that variance, would have been to sue the Board of Adjustment. And because the citizens of McLendon-Chisholm, because I take that survey very seriously, and so did the rest of the city council, because the people of McLendon-Chisholm have made their number one issue our wide open spaces and protecting that, I was not okay with the Board of Adjustment making any other decision but denying that request. Another thing that needs to also be noted is that when I first met with the city planner, one of the things that I did when I first came on city council And then when I became mayor, I met with the city planner. And in no uncertain terms, the two of us had an agreement that his job was not to make recommendations as far as toward anything that would violate our city standards. That's not his job. His job is to highlight that a city standard has been violated. And in that regard, it gives the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council the opportunity to make the decision as to whether or not they think it is okay to make an exception. And there are small exceptions that can be made to anything, but not big exceptions like the one we're talking about here with this tower company. Unbeknownst to me, the city planner never met with me. The city planner never alerted me to the fact that he had met with the tower company. And the city planner never disclosed the fact that he actually in print made a recommendation for the Board of Adjustment to approve the requested variance. So I had a city planner who had violated my trust by approving this. And by the way, I didn't even know that he had violated my trust until we got into until we had gotten into the court proceedings. Because I was never given his recommended his report. That report never came to me. The one that said that he had given his recommendation to approve the variance. And so with that in mind, I went before the Board of Adjustment and let them know that our only option, if they approve this variance, our only option as a city is to sue the Board of Adjustment, which, because I believe in what the people say, because I listen to the city survey, because I listen to what you say, I said I'm willing to encourage the city council to do just that if that's what it takes. Well, the Board of Adjustment did the right thing and they denied the request. Well, the tower company, which is an out-of-state tower company, they had presented themselves as being representing T-Mobile. Well, T-Mobile is the one that they were selling one of their antennas to. They were basically going to put the T-Mobile antenna on top of their tower and then try to sell it to others, AT&T, Sprint, and others. So this was not about T-Mobile. This was about a tower company coming into our city and basically running roughshod and having no regard whatsoever for our city standards. One of the things that I recommended to the tower company was to place the tower on City Hall property. That would do a couple of things. Number one, the elevation of City Hall property is significantly higher than where they had chosen, which again is next to the Lindop property. I don't know if it's on the Lindop property or not, but that tower, where it is now, is at a lower elevation than the City Hall property. Of course, they're not interested in doing that because they don't want to have to work with the city. And so they said no. And that's what, is there a problem? And so I'm just checking with my producer, making sure we're still on. And so that's what we were facing throughout this entire process, was a tower company that didn't care about our city standards. And the tower company filed suit against us. And because we take seriously protecting our wide open spaces, we went to battle against them. That battle cost about $65,000 when it was all said and done in attorney fees. But in the end, we learned a couple of things, and I talk about this at the city council meeting. It's part of the official meeting minutes. It's been recorded that what we were facing was a much bigger challenge than we had expected, because the city planner had given his recommendation to approve. Everything kind of went in our direction the moment that I picked up our city survey and I showed them. I said, well, folks, I don't care what our city planner said. he did not consult with me. He did not consult with our council. And this city survey tells me that I have the will of the people who are willing to go and fight you guys for as long as it takes. And as much as we were paying in attorney fees, we knew that the law firm that they were using charged about 3 times the amount that we were paying. We knew that it would cost them a lot of money. And so we used that as leverage to reach a compromise, because the judge in the matter basically explained to us that this was a federal law that they were being protected under, and that this case would go before a federal court. And in that light, we're talking about a group of jurors who are going to be from Dallas, from a big city, who are probably not going to understand or appreciate our need to protect our wide open spaces. In the end, we came away with a $130,000 settlement and a reduction of the height on that tower. That to us was not a great solution, but we came out of that negotiation fully whole. And so when you go back and when you look at this piece and you look at how much we've had in attorney fees, and you look at the settlement that we got from that $130,000, the question is, what exactly are they telling you? Are the leftists in our community telling you the whole truth? Of course not. They don't care for you to know these facts, because these facts are really damning to their case. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that was the first thing. The other thing that we did, that we figured out, was the moment we found out that a tower company, all they have to do is go to the Board of Adjustment, we got to work and changed that ordinance. It is no longer allowable for a tower company to put a tower in our city without first going before planning and zoning and the city council. And if they get voted down, then they can go before the Board of Adjustment. But the process is going to be a true process, which basically alerted me to the fact that it was made clear to me when talking with our city planner that when the ordinances of our city was created, they basically took ordinances from another city, copy and pasted them, made some modifications, and that's our ordinances, which made it very clear that the effort to create laws, to create a structure for our city was done very haphazardly, and we needed to make some changes. We needed to look at that, which meant that I asked the city council, and they agreed that we would go through a process of reviewing all of our ordinances. The first step that we took was, I believe we spent $2,500 to have our ordinances screened to ensure that they were in compliance with state and federal law. That was a very small amount of money to pay to bring our ordinances back to state and federal standards. The next step was then to investigate and look at our ordinances and determine which ones were really benefiting the people and which ones were really benefiting government in spite of the people. And one of the ordinances that I've talked about many times is the septic ordinance. And the septic ordinance is basically that you have to have your septic system inspected quarterly. And you have to pay an additional fee to the city for that inspection. If you don't have that inspection, you can be fined by the city. And so what did that do for us? Well, I had never been in a home that had a septic system. So when I came into McLendon-Chisholm, it was very easy for us to make a decision to hire a company to do that. And it was the 4th of July weekend when our septic system stopped up, and it stopped working, and it kind of backed up. 4th of July weekend, we had guests, and come to find out that the septic company that we were using, well, they don't service on weekends. And so we had to hire another company to come out who told us that our septic system was full. you would think that if we are on a contract, the company that's monitoring your system, that's managing it, would tell you, hey, your system's almost full. Or they would ask you questions. When's the last time you had it emptied? None of that happened. Why? Because the process of inspecting your septic system is a fairly benign one. It's a fairly simple one. They cannot predict when your pump is going to go out, so that doesn't help. They cannot tell you if your septic system, if you're full. So what's the purpose? Well, just this. There's a company that the city used that would basically identify, and I think from what I could see, they were using an Excel spreadsheet to identify which citizens, which homes were in compliance. And if they were out of compliance, here's the best part. If they were out of compliance, this company would then send the city secretary an email saying, these 20 people, these 20 homes are out of compliance. And then the city sent a notice to the homeowners. So that company received, I think it was $10, $15 fee. They received that entire fee. The city didn't get it. But the city had to go and do the legwork to send out the mailers, to let the people, the homeowner know that they're out of compliance, that they need to get their inspection in. And so it served no purpose except to help a few people. And so we got rid of that ordinance. And of course, Mark Kipphut was one who emailed me and wanted to opposed what we were doing and wanted a detailed explanation, which I gave him. I also gave a detailed explanations to other citizens, some from Sonoma Verde, who are not on a septic system, and they're afraid that it's going to ruin our city. Well, we've been without a septic ordinance now for over 2 years, and nothing is different. Before, when we had the ordinance, I can tell you that there were neighbors, sometimes the smell from their septic was really clear that there was something wrong. That's basically the only time you know there is something wrong, when you have a bad smell. And today, without the ordinance, same thing. When your septic system goes bad, well, you kind of know it. So that's the key, and that's the background on the attorney fees. And all of this nonsense about what they're saying is again more misinformation to mislead and deceive you. And I think that it speaks for itself. So I'm going to start a new part of our show called "You Can't Fix Stupid." I'm going to highlight things from the internet that people say and do. And I can't. There's no other organization, no other group, I think, that better epitomizes stupid, and I'm using the word stupid because of their actions, their posts are stupid, is the FU McLendon-Chisholm Facebook page. Now, I'm going to just read for you what was posted. I believe this was yesterday. So, and I'm going to correct what's wrong in here, because there's a lot wrong in here. And I'm going to ask you, what are you thinking when you listen to this? All right, busted. Meet McLendon-Chisholm's own Alex Jones. I don't know who Alex Jones is. I know who Ben Shapiro is, Steven Crowder, Rush Limbaugh, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity. I know who those guys are. I don't know who Alex Jones is. And maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know, but I don't know who that is. Your former failed mayor, Robert Steinhagen, he didn't use appointed mayor, which is interesting. Or is it Will Walker? Will Walker, the guy who helped me set up my Facebook page, my YouTube account, and my website, who basically is an administrator that help guide me, so that because I had never created a YouTube site to do what I was trying to do. So a friend of mine helped me, and he's not posted to any website that I'm aware of. If you have his postings by Will, please, by all means, send them to me. As far as I know, he doesn't do anything except when I have a question, he helps me out. And because he set up these pages, he's an administrator. If that bothers someone, well, then I guess we could take him off. But what's interesting about this is they're sending out messages that I've got all these different kinds of accounts, these fake accounts, and I'm hiding behind it. What's interesting is, who is it that wrote this post? Notice their identity is not revealed. Why? Because these are the people who actually have multiple accounts. As I said on the last show, I have a Nextdoor account. I have a Gmail account which links to that it's under Robert Steinhagen, Nextdoor. My Facebook and YouTube accounts are also under Robert Steinhagen, and I have a Conservatives for McLendon-Chisholm site that I use as well, that I use for this purpose. But I don't hide my identity. And if you go to my website and if you look at the About page, it tells you who does this, who's doing this. It shows you who I am. I'm not hiding anything. So again, this is more of the same. Sitting atop his garage, I'm above my garage, making hour-long videos attacking just about everyone in MC. No, just people like you, just the deceivers. And Rockwall County. No, just the deceivers. While his spouse works to support him. Again, not true. I have clients, and I'm surprised that he has any idea about my spouse's working relationship or mine. We recently showed proof about his fake Facebook profile. Well, here's the proof. Busted. Take a look at both images. I have no idea what he's talking about. Just so you know, Conservatives for McLendon-Chisholm is me. I'm not hiding my identity. So here he goes on. So why would you support this crazy fraud? What fraud? Fraud. Think about that. The words people use today, they have no meaning. I think words have meaning. Fraud has connotations to some monetary indiscretion. I've created none. This is my equipment. This is my show. I'm a citizen. I have a right to express myself just like you, Mr. F.U. McLendon-Chisholm. And I'm doing it without hiding behind who I am. I'm actually willing to put my name out there. People who raised your taxes, not true, as we talked about in the knife-wielding video, increased the city budget over $400,000 over 2 years. Let's see. Why did that happen? It happened because we were held captive by a fire chief who refused to submit to an audit. So he put a gun to the city's head and said, pay up or else. No audit. So what did we do? We went out and we got a grant, a federal grant, $600,000 grant. Has that impacted you yet? No, it has not. And by the way, my plan for a city-owned fire department is different than what's happening right now, no question. But we have a new mayor. We have Herman Larkin and we have Jim Bloom. If you have any question about what my plan is, just go to my State of the City address. Just go to the last one, because I detail what a city fire department for a city that has 3,000 people should look like, where more than half of all the calls go outside of our fire district, where a greater portion of the population lives, and they pay nothing for their fire protection. That's really what you should be focused on. But this guy doesn't want to do that. And over 2 years and tried to bankrupt your fire department. No, I didn't try to bankrupt the fire department. Not at all. I tried to hold them accountable, tried to hold them to a standard, a high standard of which you, Mr. F.U. McLendon-Chisholm, have none. Vote these fraudulent clowns out of office. Fraudulent clowns, is that like the guy who runs around with the resign poster and dances around them? Is that who this is? I don't think it is, by the way. I think it's the guy who started this F.U. McLendon-Chisholm page and who started the Friends and Families for McLendon-Chisholm. The guy who according to court records, left his wife and child for another woman. They moved into Sonoma Verde. Oh, and by the way, abandoned his child because his wife had to sue him for child support. Now, that's called a deadbeat dad, but in Texas, we call that a scumbag. So we have this scumbag who is leading a group, a Facebook group, two of them, F.U. McLendon enemy. And so you need to take a look at what the left is doing in America today, what the left is doing in McLendon-Chisholm now, and decide for yourself, is that who you are? I hope not. I know that most of you watching this are as frustrated as I am over what is happening in our community. These are not people who want to bring our community together, not at all. They see things in one of two ways, their way and the wrong way. And that, unfortunately, is a very un-American and un-McLendon-Chisholm type of attitude, in my opinion. So I appreciate you being with us today, and I ask that you would stay with me. I'm going to do a daily show. I think I will try to do one tomorrow as well, but certainly during the week I'll have a daily show. If I'm not with you tomorrow, it's only because of family time and commitment takes kind of precedence. So anyway, I hope you have a great Saturday. Enjoy the rain again, and we'll see you next time. I'm Robert Steinhagen for Conservatives for McLendon-Chisholm. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Do I hit live?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pause live or stop and complete?
Stop and complete.